Welcome back to another episode of Life Matters. Today's episode, I have a question, and it's the title of the episode. Are you ready for eternity? It's an important question. It's a question that deserves thought. It deserves understanding. It deserves not to be taken lightly or put off, because eternity can start at any time for anyone. Now, what is the inspiration for this episode and possibly series? Well, you may have heard about the recent death of one of our political leaders. And to be honest, when I heard about this person's death, immediately I was reminded of Proverbs 27 and verse 1. Proverbs 27 verse 1 says, thyself of tomorrow, for thou knowest not what a day may bring forth. No, that verse is not saying to never make plans, to never enjoy life, to never, plan for the future. What that verse is saying is actually to plan for the future. Not the future here on earth, but eternal future. Everyone will spend eternity somewhere. Yes, every person's physical body will decay and go back to dust. But everyone's soul and spirit will spend eternity somewhere. And being a Christian means that I get to spend eternity with God in heaven. And if you are a Christian, that's your same destination. Eternity with God in heaven. If you're not yet a Christian, though, your eternal destination is ultimately the lake of fire. One day, God will cast the place that's now referred to as hell. He will cast that into the lake of fire. And that's the eternal dwelling place of Satan and the false prophets and the beast, all talked about in Revelation. And that's the eternal dwelling place of everyone who does not become a Christian before they physically die. That's what God says. That's God's will for anyone who does not become a Christian before they physically die. That does not mean that God likes to see people go to hell. I truly believe that it breaks God's heart when a non-Christian physically dies, because that means that there's no more chance for that person to become a Christian. So the question, are you ready for eternity? Don't wait. Don't put it off. Consider it now. Proverbs 27, verse 1. Boast not thyself of tomorrow, for thou knowest not the day may bring forth. You may wake up in the morning, and by the afternoon or evening, something may happen. I'm not saying that it will, but it may. The truth is, we don't. No one knows here on earth. Be ready, because if you are not yet a Christian, even the very moment after eternity starts for you, you will regret it. The lake of fire that God will cast out into. It's not going to be a cool, refreshing lake. The very name of it, lake of fire, the closest example I can think of is thinking of a volcano and how hot the lava in there in those must be. Translate that into a lake of fire. So what is so vital? The timing. Well, let's notice another verse. And that verse is 2 Corinthians 6:2. 2 Corinthians 6:2. And verse. For he saith, I have heard thee in a time accepted, and in the day of salvation have I said, behold, now is the accepted time. Behold, now is the day of salvation. Now, not tomorrow, not next week, not 5 years from now, but now. I'm sure that that person in our government did not think he would die that day. He woke up that morning. He went about his day. By the end of it, he wasn't here. How many other people have died suddenly without any, long-term illness, anything like that? What about you? would you feel if you or your family or your friends, someone you know, woke up tomorrow morning and by the end of the day, you or they were no longer here? Would you or they be ready for eternity? For someone who is a Christian, looking forward to eternity is wonderful. But for someone who is not yet, it is not something to look forward to. And these verses are part of a passage talking about when Jesus was here on earth for his public ministry. And he's talking to people. And what he says, let's really take time to consider. And not just here now, but in the days ahead. And so in Luke chapter 15, we have a passage. Sorry, in Luke chapter 12. In Luke chapter 12, verses 13 to 21. It's a passage that talks about what is truly important and why it is. But for this episode, right now, I want to focus on verse 15. And he said unto them, take heed and beware of covetousness, for a man's life consisteth not in the abundance of the things he possessed, which he possesseth. And then, starting in verse 16, Jesus tells a parable. And two of those verses, verses 19 and 20, are two that I want to focus on. Verse 19. Again, this is Jesus talking, telling a parable. And so this is Jesus talking as if he would be this person. Verse 19. And I will say of my soul, thou hast much goods laid up for many years. Take thine ease, eat, drink, and be merry. Verse 20. But God said unto him, thou fool, this night thy soul shall be required of thee. Then whose shall those things be which thou hast provided? I encourage you to read that for yourself. It's probably Luke 12, 13 to 21 specifically, but also the entire chapter of Luke 12. What would God say to you? Would he call you a fool, having laid up so much stuff and not focusing on what truly matters? Your soul and your spirit and those around you? Do you see people by their outward actions? Or do you remember them that they are created by God for a purpose? Everyone is created by God. There's no one here by chance. And so, are you ready for eternity? If eternity happened to you today, if the start of eternity happened today for you, would you spend it in heaven with God? Or would you want a second chance, which you will never get because you are not yet a Christian? And to truly think about, to consider, to understand that it's not wrong to make plans. It's not wrong to enjoy life here, but since there's no one knows when eternity will start for them, I strongly believe it's important for us to take it seriously, be ready, be obedient to 2 Corinthians 6:2. If you're not yet a Christian, and if you are a Christian, do you have a burden like I do for those who are not yet Christians? Do you see past outward actions? Do you understand that that same person who is doing wrong by outward actions, going against what God wants, is actually someone who God created and wants to spend eternity with? If they would just be a Christian. Your life can be going well right now, but tomorrow something may happen. Are you ready for eternity?